Okay, welcome to another video. What we're going to be doing today is taking a look at a Linux distribution called Hash Linux. Now we're on the website right now, but it doesn't appear to be a whole lot of information available. What we can learn is that it's an Arch-based distribution available in 4 versions, which are Awesome, Xmonad, i3 and Bspwm. It's designed and developed for those users who love Linux and want to enter the wonderful world of window managers but are not encouraged to customize them due to laziness or lack of time. Some of the features included are Funa, the file manager, Firefox for your web browser. We then have Termite and gparty to manage drives and partitions. We then have the hash theme selector, which is an exclusive Hash Linux tool designed to change themes intuitively and easily. And then we also have Ristretto for image viewing. So out of the 4 versions available, the window manager that I've had most time with is i3. However, I've not spent a whole lot of time in Awesome, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and download the Awesome version, which has an ISO size of just over 2 GB. So what we're going to do now is jump into the live environment and get this installed. And here we are in the live environment, and the installer it's using is Calamares. Now, as per usual, we are going to be installing this natively, but for those of you who like to skip the installation parts of these videos, there'll be a timestamp down below which will take you straight to the installed desktop. With that being said, let's get this installed. So Europe London is the place to be. English UK is of course the layout. Let's just make sure it's all working and then go to the next step. Okay, so we're going to drop it down to the Drevo X1 SSD and we're just going to do an erase disk and then see what the default file system it's going to be using is. And it's going to be using ext4. Now for the swap, we do have the option of swap no hibernate, swap with hibernate, or swap to a file. I'm going to go ahead and do swap with hibernate and we can test that out once we are fully installed. And then we have 3 partitions for our swap, root partition, and then our EFI system partition. Next, user account time. So we're just going to call this one Ashboy. Type in our password. And I am going to log in automatically, and I'm going to use the same password for the administrator account, and next. Okay, that's everything. I'm going to pause the video here and then come back once we're finished. Right, so the installation has complete and it took really no time at all and barely scratched a couple of minutes on my machine. So let's reboot and check out our freshly installed Hash Linux with the Awesome window manager. Right, so here we are, our freshly installed desktop with Awesome as the window manager running on Hash Linux. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'm not super familiar with Awesome the window manager or how it all works, so we're kind of just going to run through it and see how we go. So Awesome is written in C and Lua and is for the X11 windowing system, so I don't think it works with Wayland. And the default shell we're using on Hash Linux is ZSH. Right, so I think what we should probably do is start with the default look and feel and how it's all been set up and configured for us out of the box. So it's very nice and clean. We've just got the single panel at the top of our screen and we have a Conky widget right about here letting us know some of the commonly used keyboard shortcuts, which we will go into in just a moment. So at the top left of the panel, we have a little question mark, which is for your computer. And then right clicking that, you can go into presentation mode or go into the settings, which is going to open up the Power Manager settings. So let's close that off using Super and Q. And then just to the right of that, we have our sort of current connection. So we are using Ethernet. And then we have our clipboard manager, currently empty, but any sort of clipboard history is going to reside in your clipboard manager right there. And then we have a volume icon, which appears to just have a sort of a muting function when you do a single click on it, and nothing's happening with a right click. We then have some system information, and now at the very right hand side, we have our sort of workspace or tags. And then we have, okay, this is something that's going to be switching the sort of windowing mode that we are on. So we're currently on BSP, I do believe. So let's go back to the beginning, and we'll go through them in just a moment as well. And then we have our clock, and then hovering over that will let you see your calendar. Now we're currently on the first tag or desktop, so if we use super and the number keys, we can then go through different ones. So at the moment we've got a completely clear desktop. So let's go into the second workspace, which has given us a different icon, and let's just open up our terminal using super and enter. And if we go back to the first workspace, we can see both now. And now let's go over to 3 and open up another window. And now go back to the first, and now you can see that it displays all 3, 1, 2 and 3. And I think I'm probably going to imagine to move your sort of windows to different workspaces, it's going to be left super, shift and then a number. So we're currently on 2. Let's try and see if we can chuck that over to 1. There we go. Now moving towards the widget, let's check out some of these keyboard shortcuts. So we already know super and enter is going to open up your terminals. And I do believe we have some nice little gaps in between each window. And then it's Super and D to open up the applications menu. Let's have a look at how that looks. Okay, nice. So it's going to open it up in the central part of your screen. We have a search bar at the top and a nice bit of a transparency to that window. And then we can just search for any old application, hit enter, and then launch that application. And we'll go through the applications in just a moment. So let's close that off, close tabs. And then next up we have close app, which we've already been using. And then we have change layout. So we're currently on BSP, so I believe it's going to be changing that layout. So if we go back to here, super and space is how we're going to change that layout. So let's press super and space and see if that is indeed what's going to be changing. And there we go. So as you can see, those spaces, those windowing modes are changing as we cycle through them using super and space. And we will go through some of the different sort of modes in just a moment. And then we have full screen, which is using super and F. So I guess we're going to want to go ahead and open up a window and then press super and F, and then that's got rid of the bar and then given our terminal in the full screen view. So I guess if we do super and F again, that will then restore our window to its normal size. Okay, what else do we have? We then have super and S to show all of the key bindings. We won't go through all of these, but we have a nice list there ready to go at any moment by just pressing super and S to go a bit more in depth than what it shows you on your main sort of conky widget. So that's very helpful. And now let's see what else we've got. We then have reload the window manager. So I guess making any changes to the config files, you can then on the fly change it by just reloading the window manager with super plus control and R. We then have take a screenshot, super standard stuff using the print screen key on your keyboard. So there we go. We have just taken a screenshot. Don't forget brag me, quite funny. And then we have a screenshot focused. So I guess that's going to take a screenshot of the focus window. Let's give that a go. And that's going to be using your super key and then print screen. So again, let's open up a terminal. And now we're going to do the super key and print screen. And then as you can see, again, it's taking a screenshot, but this time it's only taking it off the focus window. So the window you currently have open. Okay, what else do we have? We then have a selective screenshot. So this time it's going to be using your Alt key and then the print screen key. So let's give that one a go. So that should open up the selection tool and we should just be able to drag that anywhere we like and then take a screenshot like so. Perfect, super simple stuff. So we just have a couple more shortcuts left and then it has commands, which I'm going to imagine it's just going to be using aliases, but we'll test them out in the terminal in just a moment. So the last commands we have are for our lock screen, which is Control, Alt and L. So let's have a look at how our lock screen's looking. Again, super standard stuff. Just start to type your password and then hit enter to then unlock your screen and get back to where you were. And now we have our logout or power menu, and we will quickly check the login screen to see what we are using, and that's going to be using super and X. Let's give that one a go. Okay, cool. I like that. So it actually gives you sort of your name of your computer as well as the uptime. So we've currently been running for 57 minutes. And we then have all of the power buttons here. So we can just go straight to the logout screen like so. And here we are, our nicely themed login screen. I do quite like that. So again, we're just going to log straight back into it by typing in our password. And now we'll check out some of these different commands. And then I think we'll do a reboot, see how much RAM we're using. And then we'll check out some of the different sort of tiling or windowing modes or layouts. So for commands, we'll just check out the first two. So we have upgrade and ins for installing a package. So let's go ahead and use upgrade. So we're just going to type in upgrade into an empty terminal like so. It's going to ask you for your sudo password. And then it should just run through the commands needed to do a complete upgrade. So we've just seen yay there as well. Right, so we've got quite a large upgrade to get there with a total download size of 791.48 MB. So I'll pause the video here and then we'll do a quick reboot, check out the RAM, and then we'll keep it moving. Right, so we're all up to date and should be good to go. Now I did do a quick reboot and then run htop in the terminal, which is installed out of the box. So we can see how much RAM we're using on a fresh boot before we make any changes to our system. So we're sitting at just under 500 MB, around about 471 MB, which is fairly light. But I'm sure if you wanted to tinker with things, you can get that even lighter still. And we're now going to test out the command used for installing a new package. So the command is ins, so we're going to open up a clear terminal. And then as you can see, we've written ins pamac AUR, and we'll see how that goes. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to ask you for your sudo password. And then it should just run through it, so we can just press Y and then that should go ahead and install the pamac AUR for you. Okay, so that's fully installed. Let's jump onto a clean desktop now and just make sure that that has gone ahead and installed the add or remove program for us to install new packages with a nice GUI. So the installation has worked. This is just a problem that happened when the the upgrade to Pacman 6.0 went. I think all we really need to do is just sort of rebuild Yay and then install it again, but we won't worry about that for now. We just know that the int command for the package installation has worked. So I think it's about time we checked out some of these different window layouts. Now we aren't going to use the super and space shortcut to do it. We're going to do it with the mouse, that way we can see the names of the sort of layouts as we go through them. So we're going to leave it on the default for now and open up a load of terminal windows and just see how that starts to sort of default, sort of tile them and lay them around for us. Perfect, so that's the kind of tiling that I do like, but now we're going to switch it over to the very next one, which is just standard tiling, which I'm sure you're all pretty used to, and that one's called tile. We didn't have tile left, which is basically the same, but it's just going to tile to the left side of your screen as opposed to the previous layout. We didn't have tile bottom, so all of these new windows here are now tiled to the bottom of our screen. And then we have tile top, so again the same as tile bottom, just in reverse. And then we have floating, so if we was to open up a new window, it would be in floating mode. We then have a fair V, which is an interesting layout. I don't think I'd probably leave it on that. So far, I'd probably just tend to leave it on BSP or just standard tile. We then have fair H. We then have spiral, which is pretty crazy. Dwindle. Then we have center work, so I quite like that. So you have like one sort of central window there and center works. That's what you're going to be focusing on. And then you'll have sort of other sort of things running in the sort of periphery. I quite like that. Let's see what else we've got. We then have BSP, so that's all of them. So I'm probably just going to leave it on BSP for now. That's kind of my favorite layout so far. And I think what we should do now is just see what other applications we have installed out of the box, and then just have a little play around with things and see how we go. But so far, I'm actually really quite enjoying this. I think I might have to spend a bit more time using Awesome the Window Manager. So using Super and Z to open up our application launcher, let's spend a little bit of time now going through some of the default applications. So of course, Firefox is our default web browser. We then have CPU X, which someone in my Discord server sort of pointed me towards to the other day. They described it as kind of like a CPU Z, so the Windows application, but like a Linux version, which is pretty cool. So it's going to give you quite a lot of information for your CPU there, and some other things like your motherboard, graphics, and you can even do benching on there, which is pretty cool actually. I do quite like this application. Now let's go back into our application launcher. Let's see what else we've got. So we've got Bluetooth there. Now we knew that we had gparted because we read that on their website. We have add or remove, which we've installed ourselves. We have the dconf editor, and then we have the sort of hash theming. Let's have a look at how this is all going to work. Okay, so this is the hash theme selector. So we've currently got night red hash, and we've also got the window manager there. We can also change the window managers from here as well, which is pretty cool. But we'll leave it on awesome. So let's see what we've got here. So we've got hash red, hash cyan, which I think we're probably on right now. Light orange, arc dark, and sweet purple. So I guess this is going to kind of just change your theming. It might do your wallpaper as well. We'll have a look. So we'll start at the bottom with sweet purple.hash. So it's going to ask you for your password, and there we go. So we can already see quite a big change there. So if you look at our top bar, all of the colors are now different. It is saying to reboot your computer. I don't think we'll do that just yet. We'll look at some of the others very quickly, and then we'll settle on one, and then we will reboot our computer. Let me just see if the application launcher is different. There we go. So the application launcher is different as well. Quite like the purple. Let's see what else we've got. So that's sweet purple, and it's also changed our icon theming there. I think we might even have a different icon theme. In fact, before we run off, let's go into our application once more. And then there you can see we do indeed have different icon theming there. Very nice. Okay, so that's sweet purple. So I guess that's using some part of the sweet theming. And we then have one of my favourite themes of all, which is arc dark. So let's go ahead and apply that and see how that one looks. So again, we're going to apply. It's going to ask us for our password. And there we go. So it's still asking us to reboot, but we'll do that once we've settled on one in just a moment. But we can now see that we've got the new colours with the arc theming. So let's go into a clear workspace, open up our application launcher, and let's also open up a terminal. And there we go. I do quite like that sort of colour palette quite a bit. Now let's go back and see what else we've got. So we then have light orange, which I don't think I'm going to like. So as we can see it in the picture there. Let's go ahead and just apply it very quickly though. There we go. So the light orange one has been installed. Like I said though, not my kind of sort of colour palette. So it's not what I'd have my own desktop sort of styled as. And then as you can see, there is your terminal window. And let's also open up the application launcher. So again, not really my kind of colours, but for those of you who do, it's nice to have it all ready to go in an easy to use application. What else do we have? We then have hash cyan, which I'm pretty sure is the default one. So we'll check out night red very quickly. So as you can see, it's going to give you sort of a darker colours there within just sort of a red accent colour. So let's apply that once more. And here we are at the red. Now we did have to reboot that time because it was still using the light orange colours for the top panel. But with a reboot, it's now changed over to the darker colours with the red accent colours. That I do actually quite like. Let's open up a terminal. And now let's also open up our application launcher and see how that looks in this view as well. Very nice. So I think what we'll do is open up that application once more, go back onto the default, and then we'll carry on looking for the rest of these applications. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be the default one that we were using. I think that looks about right, but we'll soon find out. So let's go ahead and apply that once more, and we are back. Yeah, I think this is probably my favourite colour scheme that they have installed out of the box. I do really like that program though. Very simple application just to change the sort of styling of your desktop, and it also has the window managers there as well. So very handy to have installed out of the box, ready to go for a new user that just wants to very quickly change the sort of the aesthetic of their desktop without sort of worrying too much about putting a whole load of effort in. Now let's go through the rest of these applications and see what else we've got. So we do have HTOP. Let's also open up the customized look and feel package and see some of the other themings that we have. And here is the themings that it was using when it was switching over. So we have Themes Hash, we have Sweet Dark, Rayleigh, Mac Water, Orange Slim, Flat Remix, the red, so that was probably being used in the red colour. And then we have Arc Darkest 3.36. And while we're in here, let's jump over to the icons and see what these icons are. I don't actually mind these icons, you know. But then it also has my favourite icon pack of all, which is Teller. So that's all of the variations of Teller there, including the different colours. And then we have icons hash. Now moving back onto the application launcher, we have Genie. We have the Kvantum Theming Manager, we have the MPV Media Player, Print Settings, the V4L2 Test Utility, Ristretto Image Viewer. The icon's not looking quite right there, but this is what we can use to open up sort of things from our file manager like images and then go through and have a little preview. And then what else do we have? So yeah, I'm not sure why that one icon's sort of not right there. Perhaps it happened when we were switching over, so we'll just keep moving through the rest of these applications now. So what else have we got? We then have the VL42 video utilities. We have the test and capture utilities. We then have Funar, which is our file manager. And let's have a look at what it looks like with our default theming. And there we go. And there's all of the screenshots that we did take using the sort of default keyboard shortcuts with the print screen key as well as the Alt and Super shortcuts. And they've all been saved just straight into our home folder. So I would have preferred it if by default they were going into our pictures folder. But let's keep it moving. So that was Funar. Let's see what else we have. So let's keep it moving. We then have our archive manager. We also have Termite, which is of course our terminal application. We have Qt5 settings. And we also have our monitor settings here. So it's going to be quite a simple thing for setting up your sort of monitors here. So we can change the resolution as well as the refresh rate. And let's see what other applications we have before we test out the hibernation. So what else have we got? So that was Termite, Qt5. And then we have Vim installed out of the box as well as YAD settings. So your default text editor is going to, for your terminal, is going to be using Vim. I don't think we saw a GUI text editor while we was looking through here, did we? Let's have a quick little run through just to make sure we've not missed anything. We then have Pulse Audio Volume Control. And then we also have the Nitrogen application, which is going to be used for sort of changing your wallpapers. Let's open that one up very quickly and see if we have any other decent ones installed out of the box. Let's try this one right about here. Let's apply that. And now let's close up Nitrogen. And there we go. So actually, I do think it is quite a nice looking distribution out of the box once you've changed the wallpaper over. I don't hate the default wallpaper. I'm not a huge fan of kind of branded wallpapers at the best of times, but I quite like that. So I do think that's pretty much everything in the applications that we really need to look at. So I think what we should probably do is go ahead and test Hibernation, because we did choose to have the swap with Hibernate in the installation using Calamares. Let's close this off. Now, what was the actual shortcut for getting into our power menu? It was Super and X. So let's press Super and X. So I'm going to imagine that's just sleep. Or is that hibernate? Let's test it out. So that button there was of course sleep. Now I don't think in the standard power menu that we have here, we do actually have a GUI option for getting into hibernate. Let's just have a little quick double check. So we have power off, we have reboot, we have lock screen, sleep and log out. So from what I can see, We don't really have a GUI way to do any hibernation, so it would be nice if the power menu was configured to have that option out of the box, as we did choose that in the installation method, but we won't worry about that for now. Let's open up our terminal and see if we can summon it from here with systemctl hibernate. So we're going to do that, and like I say before, whenever we test out hibernation, all that needs to happen is all of the applications that we have here, once we enter hibernate, which is a low powered state where it suspends everything to disk and pretty much almost goes completely off, then when you reboot it, all of those applications should still be there right where you left them when you start up and log back into your desktop. So let's get back into this focus window now and we'll test this out. So the computer powered down and we've just started back up, and it's taken us straight to the lock screen, which is always a good sign that hibernation has worked. Let's type in our password and get back in, and then there we can see all of the terminal windows that we opened prior to starting the hibernate are right where we left them, which lets us know that hibernation has worked absolutely flawlessly out of the box on Hash Linux. So the awesome window manager is actually quite nicely pre-configured for you out of the box here on Hash Linux, but much like with most window managers, they're pretty much what you make of them. So if you wanted to change things up a bit, you're going to spend a bit more time in things like your config files here. So here we have rc.lua, etc. And then you can really sort of tailor your system to exactly how you want it. And I think that is where I'm going to wrap it up with my first look of Hash Linux, this time featuring the awesome window manager. Now, when I was originally considering doing this video and went on their website, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go or what to expect, as there's not really a whole lot of information that is on their website. But all in all, I've actually been quite pleasantly surprised. Now, as this is my first time really actually using the awesome window manager, I think they've done a good job of getting someone who's not super familiar with it up and running. And the keys to remember here is a very good starting point, and of course pressing Super and S. We can then go in a bit more depth and check out some of the other shortcuts. Now, I will leave a link to this in the description below, but I think I might also check out some of the other Windows managers at a later date and see what we think. But thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and if you've really enjoyed it, you can consider supporting me on Patreon. Join the Discord, there's a link in the description below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.